Suhail for joining us today in our Conversation with Leaders series. At Ungender, we are constantly, communicating and engaging with organizations which are complicated, complex, difficult for people to understand, be it startup, be it an established organization, but key aspects of these organizations have stood out. Especially when we talk about how they have managed safety and aspects of inclusion, especially when we talk about safety in these workplaces. So today we have Suhail Vadgaokar, who is the director of Urban Company, director HR of Urban Company, formerly known as Urban Club. And I still think, Suhail, that everyone is still getting used to Urban Company. Even from my own mouth, it will always come out as Urban Club first, because that's how the memory has been. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Pallavi. Thanks for having me here. And always great to talk about what we're doing. And you're right. I think even internally we still do refer it to our company as Urban Club, just in when we're speaking. But UC is the internal nomenclature, right? We throw UC very easily, and UC is what sticks. And that is our logo. So that's not going to change. UC is the way of life for us, and for many of our customers and partners.
No, that's true. But for us, I think as consumers, what has happened is that we got introduced to this concept that there will be people who will take care of. Here's a company which is telling you that you don't have to worry about not being able to find an electrician. You don't have to worry about not being able to find a carpenter. You don't have to worry about a lot of things now, or go around asking people where you can find somebody to provide you those services, because here's a company which is going to take care of it, and which you have done for years now, right? And in our experience, that help, that assistance, that gap that was there has been filled in by Urban Club / Urban Company, UC. We'll stick to UC from now on.
Yeah. And that's really been the endeavor, right? To ensure that whatever you need in terms of a service is available to you easily, is reliable, build a high degree of trust. And not just to our partners, our responsibility lies, not just to our customers, but our responsibility lies to our partners as well, right? We are creating a livelihood for them, and one that is sustainable and consistent. So it plays both ways.
Yeah, but as somebody who is heading the whole human resource aspect here, right, Suhail, when we look at Urban Company, right, it does not come across as an outsider. Yes, it's another company out there, right, which is doing another set of commercial business. But internally, from a human resource perspective, how complex and complicated is the workplace scenario when you look at it? Because you're dealing not just with a restricted or very focused environment of an office space, but there's so much more that goes beyond it. So in terms of complexity, how would you say the operations and the scope of workplace itself gets complicated at UC? Suhail, I completely missed out, and I'm still not able to hear you.
I think Suhail's connection is lost. I'm sure he'll be joining back in a second.
Yeah, he's here.
There he is, yeah.
The price of a good weather is a weak internet connection.
True. Suhail, are you back?
With the patchy connection, it will take him some time. The Zoom takes time in loading anyway.
Suhail, I would suggest that you keep your video off for a bit till you find a.
I don't think he's able to join properly only.
His connection's not. I just love how this has become such a part of our lives, which we never imagined it to be. Like even a few months ago, before March, if this happened on, say, a live conference or something, we would cringe and we would like go freeze.
People would go panic mode that ye kya ho gaya hai.
I know. I love how it is just okay. It's, his screen is frozen. He'll be back. Let's continue.
But do you remember, Ritu, and I will now start calling it ancient times, when people during these conversations and these, important meetings and everything would keep their phones aside, no distraction, nothing. There has to be a stable flow. You can't even, you have to go to the washroom before you start these meetings, so that you don't miss out on the flow at all. And look how all of us have evolved. To
I just love how that's what now we've become so casual about formal things.
Guys, I'm sorry. Now I've had to move to my phone.
No, that's okay. That's absolutely okay.
Yeah, I don't think I have too much of a choice, but I apologize. Sorry, where did I drop off?
Yes, but firstly, I just want to say this is exactly what we were talking about, that we no longer need to apologize for this. This is the new work arena that we have. I can hear my own voice, Ritu, so something is not right somewhere. Okay.
Yes. Is your live stream on?
No. It's everything is switched
on. It's good here.
Okay. So yes. So hey, what I was asking you was that from a complexity perspective, as as somebody who is heading the whole human resource aspect of UC, how would you rate it and how would you describe it?
Okay, so there are two aspects of it, and what's important to understand is that our partners who work with us, and we have nearly 30,000 partners on the platform. They are not our employees, right? They are individual contributors, and they partner with us, and not even on through a contract, but they sign up to work exclusively with UC. And of course, we whatever they earn through the platform, right? But they are not our employees. However, what's important is to understand that we still have a responsibility towards them, right? We have to ensure that they are taken care of, and that there are periods like when we went into a lockdown where our services shut down, they needed to be taken care of. Right now, that's the partner aspect of it, and it doesn't roll up into the HR of UC. We've got an entire partner management ecosystem that handles that.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. That's the partner experience team. The strength of, UC's employee count is 1,200. And that is which we manage actively, right? The HR team of Urban Company.
Right. But then from an employee base, I'm completely with you, right? That there's a partner angle that is there. These people are not your employees. But from a consumer side, if I have to look at it, right? The reason that person is there is because I found that person on the app. Is Suhail still around? No. Ritu, you and I should talk. How often have you used Urban Clap's Urban Company services?
Oh, quite a bit. Not so much, even if not so much before, but ever since the lockdown has eased a bit, we are constantly using it because, all the stuff that we can't go out for example, a haircut for the child, and they're actually pretty good with
Even
safety,
I
safety
have been
precautions.
contemplating that actually for some time, but haven't really gone ahead. Nobody has entered the home ever since the lockdown has started.
No, it's we've been in constantly. So it's just like one or two occasions when children's haircut have to be done. Even if that's done once in 2 months, it still has to be done.
Hi, Suhail.
Back.
So
Yeah.
hey, we will not be needing you anymore. I've been filling in for you.
We will discuss about Urban Company anyway.
All right.
Tell us your comments later on. But yes, coming back to the experience from a consumer perspective, right? When I go to the app or I go to the website platform, and I'm looking for a service. The reason I'm getting that person, trusting that person, is because you see, right? That's how it is being introduced to me.
Yeah.
So while at the back end, legally everything has been sorted, right? For a customer, they will still come to you.
Yeah.
So because for them, that person who is there in the space, in the home space, for me,
Yeah.
is somebody who is part of UC. Now, whether they are part of it as a partner, whether they are part of it as a part-time employee, intern, all those categories is a different thing. So consumer ये नहीं समझता है कि ये partner है या full-time employee है. Consumer को सिर्फ ये समझ में आता है कि ये UC से आए हैं. Same thing that
Yeah.
happens with Uber, Ola, and other similar structure of companies, right? So in that particular aspect, if I have to say, then how exactly is the employee base defined, right? Because under, let's say, for an example, Posh Act,
Yeah.
the employee definition is pretty wide. It's not limited to just somebody being an employee, full-time employee of your company. Like it's contractual. I don't even need to tell you. I'm sure you know it already. So
Yeah.
how are these different segments taken care of? And how many different categories exist? Because it makes so much. It makes everything so much more complex,
Yeah.
right? And that's the difficulty as an HR person, as a head of HR here. So,
That's actually a great question, Pallavi, because like I said, while we are not directly involved with it, however, we have a whole system that handles that piece, right? That's our business side. So let's talk about how partners are onboarded at UC, right? We, every city has a team which is divided based on categories. And these, whenever we have to, we're trying to build supply is purely our partner base in a team. Then they open up the channels to get in, people to join us. Now, what happens is that joining is not very straightforward, right? You have to come, you have to fill in an application. You are then evaluated, right? And once you join, you are trained. Now, during that training, and the training can differ based on the category you're joining. The training can it extends to as long as 10 days. And all these things are covered. Now we have a proper BGV process that is also involved, right? So we ensure that a background verification is done, documentation is done, all that. So the safety aspect is completely maintained because, like you said, at the end of the day, the partner is entering our customer's home, right? So it's very important that the customer has full faith on the platform that the guy who comes to me is a reliable person, right? Even during this period, what we ensured that, or what we realized is that what are our customers going to be looking for? They are going to want safe and hygienic services.
Right.
So we actually spent the lockdown period on improving our safety, our partner safety, equipping them with all the material that they would need to ensure that they are maintaining the highest level of safety in a customer's home. So that we do for sure. And that is done by our business teams. Every city office has numerous training centers where these partners are trained.
Okay, but that also That brings me to my next question. Thank you for closing it there. That brings me to the complexity of the workplaces now, right? Because my home is in a way an extended workplace for UC,
Yeah.
right? And that's how I'm understanding it now. That's how public is understanding it now. One thing is to make sure that it gets translated to partners also, right?
Yes.
And second is to make sure that your customers also understand it, because that communication, if ever there's any grievance, if there's any concern that they want to raise, they should know that you are ready to, you're here to hear it out, right? So
Yeah.
that communication becomes so important. And now you're saying that you're training those people. Of course, those people are not getting trained in some random places where there are training centers which are allocated for it.
Yes.
These are all just some of the examples that I can think of as workplaces for UC.
Yeah.
So once again, because it's such a complex industry, I request if we can go into a little bit more depth of what all workplaces are considered, especially when you're designing these policies and guidelines and best possible practices to be adopted, keeping safety in mind. Be it partner safety, be it customer safety, be it your employee safety. Right?
Yeah. Okay. So let's do this. Now, before we sort of, when we started off, right, it was always customer first. We have to ensure that we are focused on our customer safety, right? Customer safety, customer, experience quality, the service delivery, etc. And we built out a whole customer experience system, right, including a support center, etc. And as our partner base grew, there were obviously issues that grew, that cropped up, right, where partners felt that, hey, sometimes I felt I was under threat, right? I've gone into a customer's home, and that customer, I felt threatened, right? And we also then we started to realize very early in our journey, like while we are building a whole ecosystem to handle our customers' grievances, their needs, support operations towards customer delivery, we also have to build a system to ensure our partners' safety experience and the experience that they are having on the platform as well, right? Because at the end of the day, we earn our bread and butter from our partners, not from our customers. Our partners earn their bread and butter from the customer.
Right.
Right. So we built out a system where it was fairly rudimentary. Initially it was just a support center where the partner could call in whenever he had an issue. Now, as the complexity of the issue started to grow, now if I have to give you examples of what were the issues like, right? First, it was onboarding. Oh, my onboarding has gotten delayed. There's some paperwork missing, etc. Or if I've put in all my paperwork, I've still not gone live. I'm struggling with the app. How do I make these changes, etc. Then there was that, which was fairly straightforward. Then when we moved to online payments became another channel of issues, right, for partners, where sometimes they would want to understand deductions. Why has this amount been deducted? Why is this payment delayed, or some payment has been carried over from the last time. They want to understand payment breakup, right? While we built out the support system, we've always also wanted to automate a lot of things, right? So our product team did build out payment automation, right? Ensuring that that customers, partners always had clarity on what their payments look like. Right? So there was always that effort on the back end to also automate a lot of things that did not require a call. Right? Then we also had things like ratings. Now, a lot of partners would call up saying that, hey, I got a rating, but I don't think it was a fair rating, right? This is now this is an issue between a partner and a customer. Can we mediate over there, right? And again, there would be a discretionary call over here, whether we could mediate, we could not mediate, but most of the time we would not mediate because it is between a partner and the customer. Now, if a partner has been on the system and has delivered over 500 jobs and gets 1 odd poor rating, that is going to happen, right? He's not going to be rated perfect every time. Customers also can have their own issues, and maybe the partner has actually messed up, right? He also needs to understand that. And then there was trust and safety,
Yes.
right? Where partners, we also do have, women partners on our platform, salon partners who do deliver jobs even at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., right? So then we built out a system which is a trust and safety system where partners could reach out immediately. They would get prioritized and their issues would be handled. If there were partners who felt that, hey, a customer is not right or has misbehaved with them, or has, or they feel threatened in any way, we don't even ask questions. We mediate immediately and ensure that the customer has communicated this and is blocked off the platform, right? So very similar to how we've ensured that we have a support system for our customers, and customers can raise the same issues, right? If a customer feels threatened, or if a customer feels or feels that there's something wrong with the partner, we mediate and we take action. Similarly, we will also do it for our partners against the customer, right? And most of this, Pallavi, has been built out through our learning, right? The journey that we've had through the app, as the base grew, you're right, the complexity grew. We've learned and we've ensured that we've always created an avenue where we are solving for these problems, or giving customers or giving our partners the ability to reach out and having their issues solved.
No, I think that's very important, and thank you for pointing that transition, right? While customer is all important for every business, right? Because that's what products and services are targeted at. But the team which is taking care of taking your service and products to the customers is something that requires focus, right? Equally critically, I will not go into the nomenclatures, but it does require focus and a lot of dedicated approach to address their safety and concern.
Yeah.
Some challenges that I see, Suhail, at my end, if I were to put myself in your shoes, I will of course raise them in some time. But what are the challenges that you have seen as you have gone about this whole learning curve? Right? It's been years now, right? And learning is not going to stop. I mean, that's the only way any process improves. But I'm sure there must have been times when certain feedback would have come back from ground level applications and customer reviews and partner experiences. And not every intervention that you have included so far would have happened as seamlessly as you would have intended it to make happen. Right? So what have been the challenges in your journey towards ensuring partner safety and customer safety also?
Yeah. Oh, the challenges are, of course, numerous, right? And I think the largest challenge is actually, getting people to practice what they have been taught in the training, right? And we've always believed that, hey, if we train people or we train our partners on certain safety aspects, they are going to follow them, right? And I think it was us being naive, but we also said that we also realized that when we started to get these escalations, let's build this into the platform, right? Let's make it full, right? And I'll give you an example. One of the examples was that, and this became a very big issue, right? That as a partner, as a customer, you book a service, and there is a certain partner assigned, right? And then somebody else lands up for the job, right? So how do we?
That's a technical glitch, I'm assuming.
No. That guy has sent someone else.
Oh, like that. Okay, that's
right. He sent his brother or cousin or whatever, right?
Right.
So how do you handle that? Now, when we got to know that, so we started showing the picture of the guy in the UC uniform. So the customer had a clear idea of who is going to come.
Who's going to come, right?
Right. That became a deterrent to partners to send someone else. Then there was again the uniform aspect, right? So then we brought in like a selfie check, that at the start of every job, the partner has to take a selfie. Even at this moment, to ensure that they're wearing their masks and their gloves, we ensure that the selfie check is done, and the customer has to rate the partner on hygiene and safety. So while I think we've only have had to play maker checker over here. We made the rules and we're ensuring that our app is checking that there is compliance to those. It's Pallavi, it's actually about ensuring that your product is as tightly controlled as anything else, like a fintech product, etc., to ensure that safety is maintained, service standards are maintained, right? And it's also about doing less. So we have to be very clear with our customers in what is going to be done and what they need to expect. And that expectation has to be matched. And all this is actually driven by the app itself. So we actually ask our customers to input a lot of things to ensure that our partners are doing what they're supposed to do. That's the only way. And as the partner base gets bigger, it does get more complex, but it has to be driven by the product. We educate the customer a lot. We show a lot of videos, to ensure that the customer knows that, or the customer always knows what they're getting, or what they're booking is what they're getting. And of course, when these are escalated back to us, the first thing we do is pull the partner back into training. Even the rating, right? So our rating system has been a very strong lever for us to ensure that our partners maintain a high standard, right? Because we have rating thresholds. Now, partners know that the moment they fall below a certain threshold, they get blocked.
Okay, same like the customers.
Yeah. So it's more, actually, it's been built on the partner side, and we have, for different services, different categories, we have different thresholds. But the moment the partner's average rating falls below the threshold, he's automatically blocked off. There is no manual intervention over there required. It doesn't require a customer to send out a complaint saying that, hey, this guy has messed up my job, for him to get blocked. The moment his rating falls, so partners know that, right? Now, if he's blocked of the platform or she's blocked of the platform, and he has a lot to lose, because that's his job, right?
Right.
Everything that he earns is coming through the platform. So that has been a great way to ensure that partners are delivering their best.
So that is there, but you are dealing with a very diverse space also, okay, right? It's all across India, right? And
yeah,
it's gone global also. So I will not go into that. But अभी सिर्फ India के context में बात करें, 10 लोगों की टीम में भी हर इंसान एक तरीके से एक बात नहीं समझता है. Everyone understands the communication very differently, right? And you are talking about two kinds of training here, right? One, there is a technology training, which means that every time you're making any update at the back end for your partners, customer will understand, because customer, we also have to see the category of the customer base that we are looking at. We are a little bit more tech savvy, right? But when you look at the partner segment, right, you have to constantly make sure that they understand the app and the different features that you introduced to it. And second is this behavioral modification also at play here, right? Asking somebody to do something is and making sure that they are doing it, right?
Yeah.
It does not affect their state of being. It's not becoming a pain for them that they are actually extending the service to a customer. There's no difference in their demeanor and in their behavior and in their attitude. These two challenges of training is what I foresee as an outsider.
Yeah. See, there again, two aspects. One is the training itself, right? When the partner isn't being onboarded, he goes through an extensive training. Now, during every partner who enters the training, it's not necessarily those many partners are going to complete the training and then go live, right? That during training, you also recognize signs. You see signs if someone has a behavioral issue, an attitude issue, is tardy, a discipline issue, right? And those are actually great filters. And the one of the good things about going through an extended training is that you are able to then handpick who are the people who can deliver the best performance, right? And while, yes, there is a service delivery aspect to it, there is, of course, an attitude and behavioral aspect, right? So training, our training throughput itself is about, it's not 100%. So that is one area where we can filter. Now, the technology changes that I spoke about, right? They are not, it's not like there are new changes that happen every month. These are few and far in between. Actually, we leverage it more on the customer side. It's also about educating partners that, one, their threshold, their training, their rating matters, right? And that there is a rating threshold.
Right.
The second is that now the whole hygiene and safety rating and that threshold, we were able to utilize the downtime that we had during the pandemic to train these people on that, right? On hygiene, on ensuring that their highest level of hygiene, sanitizer, gloves, etc. That window we got, and we utilized it to train these people. The other thing I had spoken about was the selfie check, right?
Right.
That also required training, but we were able to do that virtually, right? We didn't have to pull them into a training center. And the great thing about, now, the situation we are in is that we've been able to take a lot of our training virtual, right? And that's going to be the way forward. Training in centers, having 20-30 people is just not going to be possible, which also presents an important fact, that the fact that this is all technology driven means that there is some level of knowledge of technology required by the partner, right? If there's a person who doesn't know how to use a mobile at all, it's unlikely he's going to succeed. He's going to be able to work on the platform. He needs to have that amount of knowledge at least, right? Because on the partner side, everything is driven through the app.
That's true. Yeah.
Right. Everything is driven through the app, so he needs to have a smartphone at least.
So that's the bare minimum. I think I kind of hear you, that all depends on partner selection and eligibility, qualification, and other things that you have put together in the back end. Very important aspect that you just mentioned, and I kind of find it very intriguing. This COVID, I hear a feedback on my own voice every time I speak. The phase.
I'm not doing anything, I can tell you.
So the space that so many businesses got, right, when the lockdown happened with this COVID-19. I actually liked how you put it across, that you got this window to revisit and to work on what all needs to be changed. Right. Share a little bit more around that, Suhail, because we also went through that introspection phase, considering we are from a different industry, and so many industries, especially with customer facing, workspace, for them, it has become a very difficult thing because there are a lot of changes which are required. It's not possible to just execute everything through online. For us, it was one simple thing. We can't do offline sessions, we'll do online. Right?
Yeah.
But in your industry, that's not something which is possible. You have to cut someone's hair, you have to be in that person's home. You have to do home cleaning, you have to be there in that person's home.
Yeah.
There's no other way around. Right? So how did the whole cycle, and India was in lockdown for almost 4 months, right? How did the whole lockdown period evolve internally for you from an employee, partner, as well as, and I'm here putting employees also in view here, right? Because there are a lot of changes that must have been required from the employee side also. How teams are interacting, how teams are going to be continue working together, how they're going to now, if they can't see each other in person, I will not know how you're feeling, how your day, what your mental state of being is. And when we talk about safety, it's safety from a lot of things, safety of a lot of things. So just help me understand that whole cycle, how you went about that.
Yeah. So, what happened was, the moment we went in lockdown, of course, we had to shut down the services, right? And this was true for a lot of companies, we were no different. But we realized, and Abhiraj, our CEO, said that, hey, every sort of adversity throws an opportunity. This is one for us, right? And we realized that the COVID situation is going to get customers to focus on one thing in life, right? Which is their own safety, the level of hygiene that they maintain at home. And we had started seeing it ourselves, right? We were washing our hands so often, we were ensuring that surfaces are always clean, wiped, etc. So using that, understanding, we said that how can we build this into our service, right? How do we ensure that we are building the highest level of hygiene and trust in our service delivery? And also, we were in lockdown, so we could not call people in for training. So we actually had to take all this training online. So we've got a product procurement function, right? So they actually went and bought we created a kit for our partners, every single partner, which included gloves, masks, sanitizer, face shield, etc. And we had this shipped to every single partner, right? So once they started to get them, we started to train them. We started to train them on what are going to be the rituals that they're going to follow when they go into every platform or into every customer's house, right? At the same time, we started building into our app this awareness with our customers, right? So we said, apart from getting a service rating, we're also going to ask you to give a safety and hygiene rating, which then was also communicated to our partners. Now, the difference between virtually training folks and physically training folks is significant. It's very easy to switch off when you're in a virtual program, which meant that we just had to do it so many more times, right? We had to ensure that partners were always trained. Every partner was able to answer a quiz, and they were put through a rigorous training. And then this was captured, the knowledge was captured, whether they have sort of understood what we're trying to communicate.
Right.
Right. And then, of course, then we also saw that there are partners following this to the T, and there are some partners who are not following it to the T. And of course, then they would be pulled into training again. And if they were, regular defaulters, they were removed from the platform. Now, when it comes to training on the core skills, which is how to cut hair, etc., what's important to know is that we don't skill people, right? We train people. We train, so they need to have the basic knowledge.
Suhail, I'm just going to interrupt.
Yeah.
It will be great if we can find a distinction between skill and training, right? Because you're saying it very categorically.
Yeah. So skilling is that skilling is picking up a novice and teaching someone how to cut hair. Training is basically going through our standards and saying that in a haircut you need to do these are the steps you need to follow, right? One of them is cutting the hair.
Got it. Yes.
So like with our salon partners, every salon partner who works with us, or every beautician who works with us, should have the basic beautician skills, right? We are not going to teach her how to do a pedicure or how to wax. We are going to train her on what our standards are.
Right.
So that's the difference between skilling and training. Like even our technicians, like our AC partners, have done this for years, and we take them through what our service delivery process is.
No, it's very important for customers to know. The reason I asked you to expound on this is because the majority of the consumers think that UC का stamp है तो सारी training or skilling भी UC से ही हो रही होगी, right? It must be you who must be teaching them. And that distinction is very important for consumers also to understand that what level your intervention begins.
Yeah.
These are there. A person has to have basic skills and further on how to go about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were actually telling me more about how you have gone around this ensuring that during the COVID time, the whole learning circle actually comes into picture for
Yeah.
employees as well as customer and partner safety.
So that was, on the partner side. Now on the employee side, of course, before the lockdown started, a decision was taken that, hey, it looks like things are going to get bad. So let's actually implement a work from home for the next 2 weeks, right? I think the lockdown started on the 24th of March. We actually moved to working from home on the 13th of March. While we're a team of 1,200, we have a contact center team of 600, right? That's half the org. Now moving them was a lot harder because, they work off desktops. They don't have to worry about internet bandwidth. They can, their calls are all on the system, etc. So while they're in the office, they're all dependent on the systems or the infrastructure that's available in the office. Now we are moving this entire infrastructure outside, right? We have to ensure that this is all available. So we actually had to arrange for 600 laptops over 2-3 days for these guys. I think one advantage we had was that we did this pre-lockdown, a good 10 days before lockdown, right? So we were able to, get the stuff organized. Like I was telling Ritu earlier, we even managed to get internet connections for people who didn't have them, created an allowance for that, etc. And by the time the lockdown started, they were all equipped with what they needed. Of course, there were always issues, like we've been having an issue today with our internet.
That will continue to happen.
Yeah, that's not going to change. That was one aspect. It was not easy. And then I think everyone started to settle into the routine of working from home, which initially was super exciting. And then suddenly, people started to get jaded, right? Especially folks who were living on their own, who are dependent on their circle in the office, who are dependent on meals at the office. We provide lunch and dinner, right? So people who there are so many people who don't need to cook at all, right? Now suddenly they're working also and managing their food also. Delivery is sketchy, and this started to put pressure on people, right? And then just the fact that you're not seeing people, at that point you couldn't go to your hometown and be with your parents for, till the month of May, right? We started this in March. So we what we did was we started a care program for people where we identified who are the people living on their own.
Yeah, I have one question because the minute you said people, all of those different people were having experiences, right? How was it reaching the HR? Because this is a very integral part, and this is the beauty of strategic communication, right? Communication strategy internally to make sure that everyone's voice is being heard. What is the process that behind people generally reach out to HR? Is there any other system or process which is set? Make sure that, like for partners, you explained so beautifully how they can reach out for their concerns and grievances and any aspect for that matter.
Yeah.
How does it generally work for employees? Because for you to be able to know this is what the team goes through across India, right? Almost 600 people, and there's so much more to do. How exactly was this information reaching? And I don't need to know too much detail. I understand this aspect. But what's the strategy? Was it set in place beforehand, or is this something that was more of a reactive measure that was put together?
Yeah. We actually had to do these things on the fly, right, Pallavi? Because I think what happened was we started to realize these were issues once we went into it, right? Like what I was explaining to you, that someone being at home and actually depending on having their meals in the office, right? This is something that you're unlikely to think about, right? And even people are not very comfortable voicing this out loud. So what we did was that so there are two. To answer your question, I'll do this in two parts. One is that we said that, hey, it's unlikely people are going to talk about this, but we want to identify our most vulnerable lot, right, of employees. So we actually pulled out a list of all the people who are living on their own. Okay.
You had that information. That's actually pretty amazing.
Yeah, because we got managers to chip in, team managers who are working. They would identify. They even asked, right? But we were able to put a list of all the people who lived alone, who were away from their homes. We were able to put it together. Then we started a program called Count on Me, which was basically we identified a caregiver, right? So basically an empath in the entire organization. So we identified like 25 of them, and we put them as the caregivers for 5 of these people.
Okay.
Right. And the idea here was actually soft touch, manage it on your own through a WhatsApp group or something, simple. You don't need to talk to every person on a daily basis, but just check in, see how they're doing. Do some fun activities, like some people wanted to do book reading, some people wanted to do workouts, but keep them engaged, right? The idea here was not to do too much, but identify when there is a situation which is going to be serious, right? If there is a person who falls ill, right, or gets COVID, right, or is in trouble, or needs money but like doesn't know where to ask, right? Wherever they feel there is an emergency, they'll be ahead of the curve. And this happened, right? We had an employee who was asked to leave her residence in the middle of the lockdown. She was asked to leave by the landlord, right? We had someone who had fallen ill and did not know how to get to a doctor. So again, here, 98 out of 100 cases, unlikely anything to happen, but we were ahead of the curve when it came to those 2 cases. Right? This was important. The other was communicating to people constantly. Hey, what is our COVID policy? If something happens, what do you do? Find a partner who can come in and help. A medical partner who, if there is a problem, then they can reach out to them easily, get teleconsultation done, get testing done, right, if they need it. And of course, we have email is not the way to communicate internally. We use Slack, and everyone's available on Slack, right? So constantly hammering out communication, and communication on who are the POCs to reach out to in case there is a problem.
Right. Have you come up with work from home policies, new policies that have been introduced, as an outcome of COVID experience internally?
So I'll tell you what our policies have been, right? We've extended work from home till the 31st of December, right? We have actually introduced something called predictable time off, where we've told everyone that you need to take either one Monday or one Friday off in a month, and take that long week, make it a long weekend, and switch off completely.
That's a good policy.
Right? And we've also added 5 PLs to everyone's leave balance. Right? Because I think one of the things with work from home, now that we've been doing it for 4 months, we've realized that the boundaries between work and or professional and personal life are blurring, right? People are just constantly working.
We're always at home and we're always working.
Yeah, and this has also led to people having mental health issues, right? And they need not be major. They're also, like, they could be minor, but anxiety, right? And the moment like someone struggles with anxiety, it eats them up. So we also introduced a mental health program where we're working with a partner. We launched this internally, and we will be sponsoring it, right? So anyone who feels like they need to reach out, we're encouraging people to reach out, right? Anyone who needs to reach out, they sign up for therapy, and UC will be built. And that's an area where we're happy to invest in. Right. So I think our policies these have been our policies. We have a COVID help desk as well. Anyone who has an issue, they can go to the help desk, and they are helped with everything from logistics, hospital testing, hospital admission, and insurance.
So that's actually pretty beautiful. Suhail, one thing that I would want to go back to is this part. Work from home has changed the way that we now look at our office interactions, right?
Yeah.
Like today, you have a balcony and an open sky background. Today, I'm sitting here. A lot of people don't have this facility also, right? They might be working from their bedroom, they might be working from wherever how a person's internal family setup or residence setup is something that was none of a company's business until today, or until
Yeah.
2 months ago for that matter. But now it is, because in some organizations they require that you have to have visual on. Videos are required to be on. In some companies, they have already announced that nobody needs to keep their videos on, because they went through the whole learning curve.
Yeah.
It's just changing. They're defining the clothing, they're defining what the background should be, whether the video should be there or not, and so many other things. Most importantly, because we are always working around the clock, right? This invasion of private time or family time is no longer something that people identify with, because that person is always at home. What is this time boundary that we are talking about now? Earlier, it used to be still like, "Chalo, Suhail, घर पहुंच रहे हैं, अब उन्हें मत call करो." Right? Or I'll message you and I will say that, "Hey, Suhail, can we have a quick chat?" Right? But now Suhail is always at home. So I automatically, it's a human behavior. I'll take that liberty that I can call Suhail anytime. Keeping these things in mind, what has been the learning at your end? And have you put specific parameters or guidelines around this? Or are you thinking of doing something similar based
No,
on the
this is actually such an important aspect in healthy working from home, right? Because we could see that it was starting to get unhealthy. Now, what we do is, being a tech company, data matters a lot to us. We are constantly reaching out and capturing data, right? And to understand what are our big problems and how can we solve them. One is, I think identification of the problem itself is a big step. We started to realize that there is this, like I mentioned, the blurring of the boundary, right? And it's not something we've encouraged or leaders have practiced openly. Yes, there are people who like, when the office was on, they would like to be at work late, and that is how they are, right? But we, I think it silently started creeping into the culture when we started working from home, right? And how did we know this? Because we, on a monthly basis, we're capturing data, and we got to know that this is becoming a problem. And of course, we, HR job is always to wield the stick. So we had to go back and here lay down policies with leaders saying that, hey, it's not okay to have calls before or meetings before 10 a.m. post 7 p.m. And while leaders, most leaders, all leaders actually bought into this, it was important to take a top-down approach and cascade this down the line, right? Because what happens is that leadership buys in, but what happens, in the middle management, that gets lost, right? And that's where you have maximum strength. That's where burnout starts to happen. That's where even people start to churn, right? So we had to drive this through our leaders, right? We also then started to push our all our VPs to conduct, full function, either all hands or town halls on a bi-monthly basis, and keep communicating this, right? And of course, HR being HR, we always go back and check, right? Ho raha hai, nahi ho raha, right? And to an extent, we have been successful. But then when we also then came up with the whole PTO concept, we started driving it, we are measuring it. We're also like getting feedback from people. Hey, were you able to switch off? If not, then identify, who your boss is and let that person know that, hey, this person was actually pulled in on their PTO. So it's also about, being the class monitor and ensure that
that's what HR is. HR so hai. But that's like very difficult, right? Because usually it's expected to have कि HR policies or guidelines बना देंगे और फिर एकदम magic हो जाना चाहिए. Overnight things should be super
but
amazing.
you have to go back and measure, and the best way is to capture data, anonymous feedback, and I mean keep it optional to be anonymous. But in our case, most people are not anonymous, right? And when do people sort of ensure that they put their name down? When they want to be heard, right? So they want to share their feedback, they want to share their information, and they don't want to do it directly, so they do it through HR, and hence they fill in these surveys. But we actually are pretty good at ensuring that we're always capturing feedback on any policy we're running, any initiative we're running, and we're doing it constantly, right? Because those become our performance metrics, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, what's the use of creating something if people are not using it or if they're not benefiting from it? Right?
Yeah. So we do well when we see that these initiatives which have been laid down, which are in the benefit of our team, are being followed and implemented, right? So it has to be done. You just have to keep going and measuring. I'm so obsessed with it. I keep it, I keep telling my team, let's send out this survey. Iska NPS capture everything every initiative that we lay down, right? Just like how we capture an NPS from our customers on our about our service, we do the same thing. We apply the same principle with our employees. At the end of the day, we are their customer.
I'm going to have a dedicated session with you on importance of data-driven measurement for HR processes. This will be a dedicated session because a lot of HR who are doing it the way you are saying it are able to put across more constructive and long-lasting policies which are in favor of the organization's growth. Wherever that's missing, it's very haphazardly done, right? It's all patchwork. So you're not really laying down full-fledged foundation of how company's culture should evolve. So that's a separate discussion I'm going to hold. I didn't know that data was something you're so fascinated about. Separate one. But here's my another question, Suhail, and there's a couple of questions which are waiting to be asked by other people also. A lot of companies have had so many realizations because of this COVID-19. And they're discovering new things about how their teams are, how their members are, how their employees are, how the industry is. While some learnings have happened as a way of improving, because COVID-19 scenario and now work from home scenario demands it. Right? It's the need of the changing times, right? Like this hand sanitization, all these efforts. This is a need of the changing time. But some things are now becoming a revelation that were always required. We just did not or could not see them. So, what have those revelations for you from an HR lens, if you have to talk about that?
Yeah. One of my favorite topics, actually, it's mental health, right? I think, like we were discussing before this chat started, that we're in a situation which is very tough for us, right? As human beings, we are not used to being, locked up, right? That's why prison is prison. It's a punishment, right? This pandemic has been a punishment of sorts, right? And what this has led to is that emotions have surfaced, right? Good, bad, more bad and ugly, right? People are feeling the stress of being at home, being connected to a computer, actually just, having to do all their interactions online. It's not what we are designed to do as human beings, right? And this is where actually mental wellness has become very delicate, right? The realization came to me through my own mental health crisis, right? And I remember taking therapy, and I was just the amount of difference it made to me, because therapy at the end of the day is just self-awareness, right? You're just building self-awareness. You're able to understand why those issues or why are those triggers happening inside you, and what is triggering something. And it was true for many people, right, in people's personal circles, and of course it meant that it was true for our employees as well, right? And we tried an EAP. Of course, when we launched that EAP, we saw a lot of adoption, meditation, etc. But then we realized that we had to do something more, right? And while of course we do provide our employees health insurance, that's medical health insurance. How do we also provide something for their mental wellness? And that's really how we launched the program that I had spoken about. I actually used my own story when I launched it to really tell people that, hey, this is normal, and it happens to it. If it's happening to you, please don't feel that you are an isolated case. It happens to many people, and you need not, and a reaction like a suicide, and this happened very close to, this happened just after Sushant Singh Rajput's case. I said that was an extreme example, right? It need not be that extreme for you to realize that you need to get help, right? It could just be anxiety. Again, like I said, we love to measure what we do, and we saw the adoption rate for this go up to like 4%.
The number of people who wanted to speak to somebody.
The people who signed up for therapy.
Okay.
Right. And then who've continued from there. 4% is a pretty high, significant number. Now, the beauty of this is we also launched it for our partners.
That's what I was going to ask you, that did you launch it for your partners also?
Yes,
because
we did.
that's a segment which does not have access either to this knowledge, to this information, and more importantly, in a normalized way.
Yeah.
And cost plays a huge role here. So thank you so much for doing that and answering it even before I ask this question. There's a question that has come up from the audience, and so it's connected, I will just put it here. Has therapy also come up as a new service on UC from consumer side?
Oh no, we've not launched it as a service because see, there are platforms out there which do a great job of it, right? We are in fact working with a platform that has partnered with us to provide this service to our partners and our employees. Right, and generally what our philosophy has been is that we don't get into spaces that already have great players, right? Like food delivery is not something we would do. Again, this is one of the places that we won't do because there are great platforms out there. So no.
Okay, yeah. But back to the partner, anything specific that you would like to highlight?
Sorry?
You just looked so elated when you said that you have launched it for the partners also. Any specific feedback that you received from the partners, and how has it been going for?
It was actually, the feedback from the partners was it's that, they're so innocent, right? Like they have not been privy to this communication on therapy and what is therapy and really what they do. And so many partners have actually just tried it out as an experiment and found someone to talk to, right? And just the fact that they can talk to someone with no bias, there's no bias on the other side, there's no judgment, has made them feel so good. And it's not that they are necessarily having any kind of a mental health crisis or they're even anxious, but just the fact that they can talk to someone on the other side.
Talk to someone is so crucial. I mean, we have seen rising cases. I don't expect you to look into the gender ratios there, but there have been enough numbers out there which suggest that there's been increasing amount of domestic violence, right?
Yeah.
There are different attributes to it.
Absolutely.
So, and considering that you have a diverse gender base for your partners as well, it's a huge support. Any specific kind of facilitation that you are looking at providing them further, or has it been raised with you from the partners end that agar aisa bhi kuch mile to it will be good for us?
Not as such, I think what happens is that what we understand from our employees, we are able to replicate on the side of the partners, right? So one of the things that we did earlier was provide a health insurance to our partners, and we did this way before COVID. A health insurance which covers accidents also, because our partners are mobile, right?
Prone to it.
And when we launched the mental health program internally, we also launched it for our externally. As such, we've not heard anything new that partners want. Of course, a lot of things come anecdotal, but there's been no strong voice. Even for the mental health program, right? There was no such demand. So we saw that, we are launching it on this side, let's launch it on that side. And we saw adoption, and the adoption was actually pretty much the same. The numbers were pretty much the same. So I think, now if we are able to see something new that our employees ask for, or there is a strong demand for, I think we'd probably realize the need to replicate it on the partner side. As such, I think really what the pressing need right now with our employees is just to ensure that they're getting time off. But that is not true on our partner side. I think there the demand is just that they want more jobs, right? So, which means that we have to build the demand.
That's true. Have you seen? This is also a question from the audience, that how have you seen small scale entrepreneurs, especially women, feeling the burnt of this whole COVID-19? Right? Any observations on that, Suhail?
See, women where they are sole bread, anyone who's a sole bread earner, right? Whether a man or a woman, it's been super tough for them, right? And we tried our best. We stepped in. We actually took 11 crores worth of loans on our books to provide to our partners during the lockdown. A lot of partners also did move away from the cities, right? Many of them are migrants, so they moved away. But we started to go live with our services pretty quickly into the lockdown, because a lot of our services came under essential services. Not our beauty services, but at least our repair services.
Right.
Right. Now, when it comes to women per se, of course, wherever they were the sole bread earners, it was hard, right? And we did whatever we could to ensure that they were helped.
This is something that you capture? Like at the back end, you will be able to know if they're sole bread earners?
Yeah. Because see, the thing is that every partner is onboarded to the platform by a category manager. Now, every partner has a certain amount of rapport relationship with the category manager,
okay.
Right? So they do reach out, right?
No. It's very important. If you are capturing it, then it allows you to make much better decisions for them.
Yeah.
Right? Better decisions. Sure.
But we're also seeing this now. The only category where we have women professionals is in salon and spa, right? So they make up about 20% of our partner base. Now, as our salon services were the last to start, spa services were the last to start.
Right.
We are still seeing the supply base grow very slowly, because our older partners still have not returned. Right, so the ones who decide to go back to their hometowns are coming back slowly. But largely, I think that's the only sort of difference that we're seeing, that the ones who left are a little iffy about coming back. They are, they're not very comfortable with the idea of moving back just yet.
Got it. So sure, it's already 5:10, and I know that we took your time till 5 o'clock only. I just compensated for the small glitches that we had in the beginning.
No problem.
So I took the liberty of extending it. I have one last question for you, and this is for other HR members in the fraternity to also understand. Right? 3 things, Suhail, in times to come, right? And we don't know what kind of working setup we're going to have. Is work from home? The digital world that we all are going to be part of. What are the three things from the HR perspective, if you have to say, for the fraternity, will be crucial or should be crucial that they should start putting in place?
Yeah. You know, like I was talking about this earlier, I think it's very important to ensure that people are getting time off, right? People are able to switch off 100%, and come back in with full productivity, right? I think that is very, very important, and that HR will have to intervene.
We create a technology that just blocks people for certain number of hours to access their emails.
Yeah, or that, right? But even just and pushing people to take like small vacations, etc. I think we're at a stage where we can at least travel a few hundred kilometers from where we are. But I think time off is very, very important, because people are burning out. They are feeling the burnout. The burnout is much higher now because they are not in that. The social fabric has started to crumble. You're not surrounded by your friends, so it's very important for HR to ensure that people are taking their time off, taking leave, and switching on. That's one. The second would be to ensure that communication, right? Top level, highest level of communication is always to everyone. So ensuring that CEOs, leadership are constantly interacting with the rest of the org through town halls, through AMAs, through all hands. But that communication is very important, and to also ensure that people know what is going on in the business.
True.
Right? Because now what's happening is because they are not in the offices, you're not having those cross-team conversations. You don't have a good understanding of exactly how the whole business is behaving, right?
Right.
So it's important for CEOs, COs, CFOs, VPs to keep talking to everyone, saying that this is what is happening in the business right now, and this is how it's going to look 1 month, 2 months from now, right? And this is what we're going to do.
Everyone is so scared also that what's going to happen. Are we going to have our job? Are we not going to have it? What's happening to the economy? It's better if all communication related to the company, that I think open and streamlined and seamless communication is what you're hinting at, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, also high level communication, right? Like at the highest level, how is our company doing, right? It's important to give people that visibility.
Absolutely, that's two.
Right. And the third is I can't think of a really good third one. I mean, I've spoken a lot about mental health and insurance, etc., for your employees. But I don't think we are unique, because I know most companies are doing that, right? All good companies have recognized the need to provide mental health programs to their employees, to provide insurance cover, etc. So
I think companies are becoming, if I hear everything that you are saying, and correct me if I've got the right understanding, somehow become invested in the lives. There's a little more investment that is required to happen in the lives of what your team members are experiencing. People who make it happen for your business, be it your partners, be it your employees, but these are the people who are making it happen, right? Without them, what is the business going to do? Yes.
Great one. So I actually know what the third one is. The third one,
I gave you a hint, Suhail.
is constantly appreciating. Yes. Constantly appreciating people, high level, top level, even if it's the CEO appreciating the VP, or you employ appreciating one of your partners, or appreciating what your a great call taken by someone in your customer service team. I think just publicly calling these out and throwing those examples out there is very, very important, right? It motivates the person who's getting called out. It also inspires people to put their best foot forward. And the beauty of this is that all these things are actually so basic, right?
Yes.
So fundamental. And the biggest learning in this pandemic is that we just need to stick to the basics. We should not be like focusing on doing cute things and, you know, fancy things. Stick to the basics, get the basics in order, and just keep hammering those.
That is
right?
true.
Yeah, that's pretty
No,
much it.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Suhail, for putting these 3 pointers out. And I'm going to reach out to you again for data and its importance for HR processes, but that's for a different time altogether.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. We have extended already. I once again have to apologize to you for this.
No, it's okay. I think internet also played a spoil sport today, but it's fine. This was a great conversation, Pallavi. Thanks so much for having me here. Could have gone on actually, and I'd love to talk to you guys about data in HR as well.
Looking forward to that. I think the power just went off, and that's why my connection is going off now.
No problem.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much. Thank you so
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye. Thank